David, we are Christless today.
Christless.
It sounds like a holiday.
Or, like chrysalis or any number of other things.
Yeah. How's the week been going?
It's been a slow week. There's just not a whole lot going on, unfortunately, other than listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is like the only source of joy in my life at the moment.
Yep. I am right there with you. Well, I'm in a stasis on the last book because the next one comes out soon, and I'm kind of waiting for the next one to come out before I finish the last one.
I blame our mutual friend Drew. He got me into this. I finally caved, and it's all his fault.
He got me into it as well, but I very much enjoyed it, so I'm happy about it.
No spoilers, guys.
No worries.
On book 4.
No spoilers. I'm also in middle of book 4 right now.
Okay,
so.
Nice.
I just finished The Godfather of Harlem, which is a TV show, which I thought was absolutely fantastic about Harlem drug trade in the 60s, covering some notable gangsters in the Italian and black gangs. It's really interesting. Today on the show, we have the person who received the most listens last year on this show, the reigning champ, I would say, Joe Masilotti. Welcome back.
Thank you. How you guys doing today?
Chilling. Big chilling.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's nice and warm here in Arizona, so I've been going to the pool every day.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah. Where are you located right now?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And we have this thing here called False Spring, where every year, right around this time, it gets really, really nice. The rain stops for a week. Everyone takes out all their summer clothes because it's like 50 degrees instead of 30. And then on Monday, I'm sure it'll be raining again for another 2 weeks and everyone gets depressed. So we're in false spring right now. So I have high hopes that this will be the year that it's not false, but it always gets me.
Well, here's hoping, because I was literally discussing with the bartender at my favorite ramen shop the other day about whether or not it was going to be over 90 in March this year.
Oh, God.
So, dude, what's been going on? I saw you speak at Rails World last year. That was a fantastic talk. Got a lot of great feedback. So what's been new?
Yeah, that was my first keynote, which was wild. I expected more like prep. Kind of just went into a blind as if it was any other talk. And they were like, cool, here's your stage. Go for it. But I made up for that in hours and hours and hours of practice.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I think we walked out of that conversation like, I guess it's time to, maybe we need an app. Like, who knows? Like, it seems like now's the time if we want to build one. Things have only progressed since then.
Yeah. The Hotwire native scene, I feel like we're reaching some sort of, not mass adoption, but like enough people are starting to get interested in it and talk about it. My goal with Hotwire Native is that it becomes de facto. You have a Rails app, that means you have a Hotwire Native app. That is my goal. And it's, a 5-year plan, right? To get to that point. But you first need to have those heavy hitters showing adoption and building apps that actually look good and feel good. And I still feel like we're in a spot where the only apps that are really flagship are the ones coming out of 37 Signals. And I think that is really next for this framework. It's like, how do we showcase something that has a bunch of native screens that really pushed Hotwire Native to the limits? And I don't know if that's like going to be me pushing that effort or if it's going to be me consulting for a company or helping them build it. But I want to see something that is as polished as Hey or Basecamp that other folks can see an example of, because not everyone agrees with their design style. And when you're looking at apps, like design matters a lot. And if you don't like their take on something, you might think Hotwire Native, all their apps look like that, which of course isn't true.
I use a Hotwire Native app all the time, Nadia's Storybook. Like that's how I keep track of my books I want to read. And they have a giveaway feature on there. I've gotten a ton of free books like in the mail and audiobooks and stuff from that. So I use that app all the time. But I understand what you're saying about having more flagship companies, I guess you would say.
Yeah. And just like the experience, right? Like having those native integrations, maybe a map or two or something. Yeah. Stuff that just like looks and feels really good. And that is the next hurdle for this framework, I think. You go to Tailwind CSS and there's hundreds of websites and they all look completely different. Where is that for Hotwire Native that shows the range of this? That's what I want to see next.
All right, this is going to be contrarian. I'm like an iOS, like I have feelings about iOS. I love iOS. I feel like most of my iOS apps kind of look the same. And when they don't, I'm like, ew, what did you guys do here? I don't need to see crazy different designs. I want to see like the standard designs, like the Apple experience, if it were.
And I think that is where Hotwire Native is going to excel over other mobile frameworks, like even React Native, of course, like over Capacitor or those other ones, because a big part of that is from your navigation and your tab bar at the bottom. And if you're building that kind of custom on your own, you're not going to get that fidelity and that level of polish that Apple has put years and years into. Like, say what you will about Liquid Glass, but it is what apps look like right now. And if you're not using Liquid Glass, it's very obvious. And with Hotwire Native, like as long as you're building with iOS 26, Xcode 26, you get Liquid Glass. And it's not like our version of it. It is Liquid Glass. It is the first party framework. We're just hooking into it. So a lot of Hotwire Native apps now feel much better since iOS 26 came out because they feel like native apps, which is not something that a lot of the other mobile frameworks can say, which is pretty cool.
I guess that kind of brings us into bridge components, right? Which you talked about at Rails World. But for anyone who isn't aware of what bridge components are, I feel like that's a natural segue into this.
So with Hotwire Native, you have your core content being rendered from the web. And we wrap that in our native Chrome, our tab bar at the bottom. And it works great for your screens, like your CRUD content. But a lot of times you want native integrations. You want push notifications. You want native buttons on the screen. You want to access the QR code scanner and on-device ML. And for that, you can build those features fully native for both platforms. Or you can hook into this concept called bridge components, where you ship native code as kind of like a gem to your iOS and Android app. You never really look at the code. You just wire it up from your server. You add the JavaScript package, you write some JavaScript or some, not even JavaScript, you write some HTML. Essentially, you write a glorified stimulus component controller, put wiring up. And then anytime that user clicks the button or visits that screen, you get those native features essentially for free. And this is extremely powerful because you can drop this bridge component library into your app and get a ton of native stuff with just some HTML markup. And it increases the fidelity of your app dramatically and unlocks some things that are really only possible with native implementations. Full-on biometrics lock the screen down when the user switches out of the app as if you were a banking app and only unlock it with Face ID or Touch ID. Those things you can't do on the web, right? And we're getting that with a couple lines of HTML now, which is wild to get that far so quickly. And I think that is, it's almost like you get your iOS out the door, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I can do all these native things on top of it. How do I get, where do I start? And this is a good place to start. For those listening, you can check out bridgecomponents.dev. I think there's 15, 16 of them available there. And most of those are open source too.
Are you tired of babysitting your job queues? Let us do it for you. JudoScale monitors and autoscales your job queues so you can stop babysitting and get back to coding. We support Sidekick, SolidQ, GoodJob, and just about every other job backend in Rubyland. And of course, we autoscale your web services too. JudoScale scales up your apps faster than any other autoscaler, so request timeouts and backed up job queues are mitigated before they become a problem. JudoScale has a free plan you can use forever, so there's literally no risk, whether you're on Heroku, AWS, Render, or any other cloud platform. Visit judoscale.com and get your job queues under control.
What kind of went into building this? What have been some recent struggles? I'm looking at these new ones, like the biometrics, the barcode scanner, these are massive features, right? To be able to add to your apps. What's kind of been the struggle or the development process like on that?
Yeah, the development process has changed dramatically over the past year or so. And originally, these all were extracted from previous client work. It's like, okay, I have done a QR code scanner 4 times. I'm going to build it again, knowing all of the options that my clients ask for, all of the affordances, all of the bugs that I've, remembered over the years. And I'm going to build that out and then release it. Those are very polished, high level, really well working components. But in the past, I've had feature requests for like, oh, we actually want a document scanner. And I've never worked with the document scanner API. And now I'm building those components more out of pull from potential customers, like consumers of it, instead of push from old apps. And part of me is like, I hope these are good enough. Like, I hope that they do have, all the bugs ironed out. But that is a place where I've had a lot of success of kind of just like doing a code review from AI help a lot there to catch things before I release them in like, oh, wow, I actually didn't know that I was supposed to check for that weird thing. I didn't know recently that your device could be locked down from biometrics because it's a company issued device where like biometrics are not allowed. And that raises this like completely weird error code that isn't documented that well. And I asked Claude about it and they were like, oh yeah, just check for this error code. Cool. I can just now present that to the user. That's something that I never would have known about or probably come across. But for that one person that sees it on their device, like that will be fixed and they will not know, it won't be a weird situation. But the biggest hurdle is always Android. Like no matter what, I have so much speed and agility building these things for iOS. So it's usually build for iOS first and then port to Android. And the porting to Android process is always so much longer and so much more code to do the exact same thing. And there's a ton of reasons behind it, but it is frustrating because I'm like, all right, iOS is done. Let's document this and get it out the door. And then it's like, actually, wait, I have to spend twice as much time building the other side of it just to have, cross-platform stuff. And I've been trying really hard to not release iOS only stuff because that's a slippery slope for my brain. Like I will never come back and finish those Android things. So right now there's a single feature that is not available on Android. And it's because you cannot do that on Android. That is the line I draw right now.
As a Android hater, I understand. But unfortunately, the majority of phones out there are running Android. So it's kind of an important market, unfortunately.
Yeah. It is interesting too, where you see folks going iOS first when the majority of their user base is actually on Android phones because the CTO has an iPhone. So a big part of the strategy that I've been doing with companies now is figuring out like their release plan of their apps. Like, how do you make sure that you're getting to the market with the right features first instead of the building of stuff? Like I've been doing Hotwire native builds for years now. And more recently, especially with the prevalence of AI, it's been shifting more into, let me strategize with you. Let me help you build the right thing. Like, yeah, you can have Claude build anything you want. But if it's a crap product or it's not solving the actual need, it doesn't matter how fast you got there. And I've been helping clients figure that out first before they ship something that tarnishes their brand or like requires a full rewrite in a month. Even though code is cheap, it still is non-zero. That's been really fun because it's like flexing a new muscle for me.
I mean, speaking about AI, tell me about your Hotwire native for Swift UI.
Hotwire native for Swift UI. Oh man. So we have had a lot of requests over the years to do Swift UI and Jetpack Compose versions of Hotwire native. And those are the declarative frameworks for building iOS and Android apps, respectively. But there's always been this hurdle of, oh my God, we have to refactor so much of this code base to get it to work. And I have tried 3 times in the past to rebuild Hotwire native for Swift UI and failed every time because of different reasons. Like I've gotten further, but it's like a different reason every time. And a couple months, maybe, I guess it was last month, I sat down with Claude and was just like, let's rethink this together. What do we need for a Swift UI implementation? And after about an hour of back and forth and experimenting and prompting, I realized that we can just wrap the UI kit implementation in Swift UI. We can offer Swift UI friendly APIs for developers. So they can build a SwiftUI app with Hotwire Native under the hood, but under the hood, it's just wrapping our UI kit implementation. And from there, I was like off to the races. Okay, I can build this. I know the right APIs. I've been experimenting with this for a while. But that realization of having someone like a tireless partner to talk through these ideas and push back and just think out loud with was so valuable. And Claude ended up doing some of the actual implementation, but the majority of the help was from how should this be structured? That's been really valuable. And we have a pull request open now for SwiftUI on Hotwire Native that works really well. And it's surprisingly few lines of code, way fewer than I had expected. Our long-term plan for this is to get, I think it would be a 1.5 or something release out in the next couple of weeks. That would be a SwiftUI compatibility layer that sits on top of the existing one with all the affordances and APIs exposed. And then maybe think about releasing a 2.0 where we rewrite the framework in SwiftUI. And right now we're exploring what that would entail, but more importantly, like, is it worth it? What are we actually getting from rewriting the entire thing in SwiftUI? And we don't really have an answer to that yet. And that's something that we're still looking at.
Interesting. I mean, I don't have a lot of app development or really any experience, but I've always, when I'm like learning about writing Swift, I was like, yeah, SwiftUI just makes your life so much easier. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that. I like easy life.
Yeah. I think that for onboarding new Swift developers, which like the majority of folks coming from Rails will be, SwiftUI makes a ton of sense. Just even thinking about when you create a new project in Xcode, UIKit, the old stuff is giving you like 7 files. And you're like, don't even know which one starts the app. SwiftUI is 2. Your app, it's literally called app.swift. And it's 7 or 8 lines of code that says, here is where the app will start. It's very obvious where everything goes. And the Hotwire Native demo, I think, has gotten us down to like 12 lines of code to get something working. We can get it down to like 5 lines of code with SwiftUI. And I don't know how much of a metric we care about that now, but it is really good for marketing this thing and showing, you want a native app? Here's like 6 lines of code to get you started. Like, that's a pretty powerful story.
Yeah, especially if, like, for instance, a CEO is like, I'm curious about this thing. Can you guys go spend a day like playing with it and figure out like what we could do? Is this a viable option? And then if I can spin up a full mobile app with like 6 lines of code, I'm coming back in 5 minutes and be like, hey, yeah, this seems like it might work.
Gets you to that point of just like, okay, this is viable. These are the things we're going to be blocked by. It's more of the show me your code instead of commenting on my PR. Like, right? It's like that type of approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honeybadger helps you deploy with confidence and be your team's DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and performance monitoring in one simple platform. It's free to get started, and setup just takes a few minutes. Be the hero your team needs. Suit up at honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io.
So one big feature, which has been highly litigated, really, is in-app purchases, which, I mean, I've been hearing for years, like, people are mad about it. People are suing over it. I don't have that big of a problem with it. I understand some of the complaints, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, it's their thing.
Yeah.
You're using their platform. So it seems like you've been working on a solution for that.
Yeah. In-app purchases are this weird space in the iOS ecosystem and Android where it's like, if you build an app, you want to make money off of it. You add in-app purchases. That's just like how you make money through these apps. And in-app purchases are great from a business standpoint for a lot of reasons, because Apple manages everything for you. You like write 5 or 6 lines of code, you get a native purchase screen. It's going to use their credit card that's already attached to their Apple account. It's going to give you like free subscription lapse handling and all that stuff. You just like set one number in the dashboard. But to account for all of that, they take a big cut. They take 15 to 30%, depending on lots of other reasons. So if you're making 10% margins on a subscription, they like literally don't make sense unless you raise your prices. I don't think that 37 Signals is making 10% margins on their subscriptions, but they fought this and essentially added a rule to the App Store guidelines of you can have a companion app. And it doesn't work for everyone because they have a lot of sway, and they were able to fight and talk to Tim Cook directly. So what folks end up doing is, well, playing by Apple's rules, adding in-app purchases to their app. And when you have a Rails server running a Hotwire native app, in-app purchases are very tricky. There are about 6 balls to juggle. And I was excited to talk to Chris about this because a lot of this is what he abstracts in Pay, where dealing with Stripe, right? When you kick off a Stripe purchase, it's not just that checkout link. You get like 7 or 8 webhooks back. And making sure the webhooks come in at the right time and saying this user subscribed and their purchase was successful and yada, yada, yada. It's the same for in-app purchases, but it's coming from Apple and Google, and they are very different payloads. So for you to like do in-app purchases, you have to worry about the native code on your iPhone and Android app, the code that triggers it on the web, handling purchase intents or webhooks from Google, and purchase intents and webhooks from Apple. And it's just a lot, and a lot to get wrong very easily. So once again, I've done this 5, 6, 8 times for clients. I built a full solution to handle all of this for you. It's at purchasekit.com, and it gives you a iOS template, an Android template, a gem, a package, and then a dashboard to manage all of this for you. So the way that it works is your in-app purchases go through Apple and Google, just like a regular native app. The webhooks then come to me, come to PurchaseKit, and then I normalize those for you, and I send those off to your Rails app. So you get a payload that is 5 fields instead of 13 from Apple or 22 from Google. And you don't have to worry about it. It's like, who is the user? What happened? When does their subscription expire? It's like very high level like that. And then you get those webhooks and you do whatever you need to your database to give that user subscription access to the paid content on your website and in the mobile app. So it's kind of all combined. Your subscription data lives in your database instead of on Apple and Google server. And because you're listening for webhooks, those stay in sync for free automatically forever.
As someone who's got way more Stripe experience than I would like.
Yeah.
When you started talking about webhooks, I'm like, oh God, what if they come in out of order? What if this? What if that? Is that something that happens with Apple and Google where they could come in out of order? Or like, what happens if PurchaseKit goes down? What happens then?
Yeah. So let's talk about the scary one first. If PurchaseKit goes down, both Apple and Google are configured to do exponential retry, like Stripe would. So they'll send it to you again in 5 minutes or 30 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour, etc. So PurchaseKit will eventually receive those when it comes back up. You will also have a dashboard of clicking a button and saying like, it'll hit the Google and the Apple API and say, are there any webhooks that like I've missed, essentially? And then PurchaseKit will replicate that same exponential backoff to your server. So if your server is down or throws a non-200 on a post, it will try again in 30 seconds, 5 minutes, an hour, etc. And then if it fails after 5 attempts, you'll get an email that's like, hey, your webhooks are broken, your customers are not getting access to their stuff. Exactly, essentially how Stripe would work in all of that regard. The dashboard will show your failed webhooks, your succeeding webhooks, also like on both ends, because PurchaseKit sits in the middle. It's like webhooks to webhooks, so you need to know where it's all going, but that's all simplified in the dashboard for you. The less scary thing is out of order webhooks. And that is where the PurchaseKit magic kind of comes into place. So I will collect the webhooks and know when to send them to you in the right order. So you will never receive out of order webhooks, but I will receive them and take care of that for you. Kind of like how Pay will do it under the hood for you and you don't have to worry about it.
Nice. I didn't know that Chris was doing that. I've written a lot of code to account for that situation specifically.
The Pay gem does a lot for you. And one of the cool things about PurchaseKit is that if you already have Pay in your app, PurchaseKit has a pay subgem, you just have to say, yes, I'm using pay. And all of those webhooks will be handled automatically for you because it knows your model under the hood. It knows your pay subscriptions, your pay customers. So you can actually add Purchase Kit to your Rails app much more quickly because you don't have to write any webhook handling. It's just all handled by pay itself.
That's very cool. Yeah, we'll have to get you on with Chris to talk about pay, but I'm just as knowledgeable, duh. As long as you don't venture outside of Stripe, then I don't know anything.
Right. I started looking into the pay code when I was building this, and you forget that how many years of edge cases and different API versioning from Stripe, and Chris has done so much work on that. And it's so easy to just be like, oh, I'll roll my own. It'll be fine. And then you start looking at pay and you're like, no, it won't. No, it will not. There are so many things I need to worry about.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting thought experiment to like, if we restarted our app, would we use pay or would we use our own, the one we have, the hand-rolled one? I don't know.
Yeah.
So you've got a new podcast with one of my favorite people on this entire planet, Eileen Schnettler. I love her to death. But yeah, tell us about it. Are you coming for our turf or what?
No, we're not focused on Ruby. I mean, we talk about Rails a ton, but it's not a Ruby on Rails podcast. So Colleen and I have been talking every week for a few years now. And it was started off as this like accountability buddy thing where we're both solo, we're both independent, we're both doing consulting in some way or building our own apps. And we would just get like really distracted during the week of what we're working on. And without a boss to keep us accountable, we found we were off the rails quite often. So we just kind of started as, hey, what are you working on this week? Let's catch up next week and make sure that we continue to work on that together. And it has morphed into more of giving each other advice, being a sounding board, being our work therapist in many ways. And this podcast, it's those conversations recorded now. We launched a few weeks ago and it has been really awesome. The support has been really helpful for it. Our angle on it is how we're trying to build independent, sustainable businesses in tech in the age of AI. And neither of us are doom and gloom, but neither of us are like AI pilled. So at least I feel like we're kind of in the middle in being reasonable about it and being honest about it. But it's not like, oh, come and get Rails tips or come and get AI, like how to use Claude or whatever. We're more just like talking about what it's like to build these businesses, how to make them sustainable and spend time with our family, and a lot of existential dread around AI eating our lunch.
Yeah, I'm in the doom and gloom. Although,
yeah,
I really enjoyed Sarah May's talk at SF Ruby, where she was kind of talking about software evolves over the years, like things have happened and new technologies come out and people have been like, oh no, this is going to take our jobs. But it really hasn't done that. What it has done is given more people the opportunity to build more things. And it's led to new innovations and just kind of new ways of doing things and solving problems. So I'm a little less doom and gloom after that talk, but although it's rising back up again.
Yeah, I was not at SF Ruby, but I saw some of the notes on that talk and it felt very much what I'm trying to feel, what I want to feel about AI. And then, you get emails from potential clients that are like, actually, like we're going to go with someone else. And that someone else is Claude Code.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually want to pick your brain about that for a second, Joe.
Sure.
Your approach to using AI, since like you just said, you're not AI pilled, but you're also kind of not doom and gloom about it. How do you go about using it? Are you actively asking it to generate code? Are you brainstorming ideas with it? What's your process and what are you using?
So I was big ChatGPT up until a few months ago, copy pasting stuff. Felt like I still wanted to understand what I was writing and didn't want anything to generate code for me. So kind of using it as like a glorified tutorial. I switched over to Claude a few months ago because I wanted to build a demo app for something where I like literally didn't care about the code at all. I just needed something that worked so I could record a demo for a video. And I was like, all right, ChatGPT, I'm not copying like 16 files over to this Rails app. Fired up Claude, like immediately purchased a subscription, of course, canceled ChatGPT because it generated what I wanted so fast. And I was able to like go from idea to recording the video in like an hour instead of 5 hours. That I was like, just for this, Claude is worth my subscription price.
Wow.
Just to generate these demo apps. Since then, I have started to use it more and more for sure. I'm still not convinced on it generating production level code that I like don't look at all. I did a little experiment. The majority of Purchase Kit is actually generated from Claude. The backend, the iOS app, the Rails app, the Android app, most of that code is actually from Claude, where I'm reviewing every single thing. So my process for Purchase Kit was, I want a feature, build that feature, and let's walk through every single decision you make. Essentially being a really annoying senior mentor to a junior programmer, treating Claude like that, like looking over their shoulder and watching every single line of code that they wrote. They got a lot of stuff wrong. They had all of the integrations with Hotwire Native were just like completely fabricated. So I had to rebuild all of that myself. But for like the boring CRUD stuff, like I have an admin dashboard with like 7 different screens. I was like, Claude, go rip on that. I don't care what this looks like. Let me know if there's some N+1 queries or I'm exposing anything, but it's an admin dashboard for me. I don't care what the code looks like under the hood as long as it's not going to bring down the server. So that's kind of where I've been drawing the line these days. Talk to me in a few months, maybe that'll change, but I'm still reviewing a good portion of the code that is generated. I am using Claude to help me ideate and spike on initial things, and I'm totally vibe coding demo apps. That's like my spectrum of how I'm using AI for code generation. I have actually used most of my tokens in talking to Claude as like a helpful, tireless coworker. I run a business by myself, right? I don't have someone that I can just ping at every second of the day. Colleen is amazing, but we talk for an hour or 2 a week. We don't want to take up more of each other's time. I can't ask my wife to ideate Hotwire Native ideas with me for the 30th time, right? Like she's sick of that. So I've been using Claude a lot for helping me fine-tune articles, helping me look at my old content and update it to Hotwire Native from Turbo Native, or, oh, I'm trying to do more mobile app stuff, not just Hotwire Native, like React Native. Help me explore React Native. Help me build up a sample React Native project so I can look at it. I was playing with Inertia yesterday, and I had Claude generate like a bare bones Inertia, React, Rails app so I could play with the code. And I was like, just go, let it rip, build this thing, and I'll look at the code. And that has been so helpful because I can get exactly what I want tailored to me and look at stuff, but I'm never going to ship that app. It doesn't matter what the code looks like. I just want an idea for how it works. I want to get in there and play with things. So yeah, I'm using it a lot, but I don't think I'm using it like every other developer is. I don't know. Everyone thinks they're unique, right? That's where I am with it right now. What about yourself? How are you guys working with? Are you on Claude? Are you doing ChatGPT, Codex? Do you guys get tokens at work? What's your stack look like?
I'm playing with Augment a lot just because it's got a really tight integration with the RubyMine IDE, which is the IDE I've been using for years. And so I've been using that a lot to kind of very similarly. I still don't like it to do a whole lot on its own. I want it to kind of just analyze the problem and show me a proposed solution because there's often times where it's still incomplete or incorrect. And it's like, actually try that again because yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Podia decided to basically be like, hey, AI is coming and we want our developers to be like, we like our team. So let's get everyone kind of like trying these different tools. And it's kind of like in a period of experimentation. So they pay for any tool that we want. We use Claude primarily, Claude Code. Mm-hmm. And I've started playing a little more with Codex. You know, I have coworkers who use open code. Like it's really kind of the Wild West over here. Like we're just kind of trying stuff and experimenting. I have friends who literally say something to Claude and then they have scripts that like spawn open Tmux windows and start sending those like Claude messages all around. And I'm not like that. Like I don't have a massive library of skills or whatever, but I have some. And I feel like if anything, I'm more interested in like the optimization of it more so than the like, let's just make more skills. I'm like, how can we improve the existing ones? You know, but that's always kind of been my niche, like desire to like tweak that kind of underlying stuff. Sometimes it's great. Like today, I was trying to write some code that would basically update a bunch of records under a specific object domain. And I wrote like a loop because I was like, well, we need to get all these things and then we need to update all these things. And I asked Claude at the very end, like, hey, is there a way to optimize this? And it changed it to a single where statement, which I didn't know that the way it did it. I was like, I didn't even know you could do this in Rails. And then it did something that I was like very surprised by it, but it worked really well. And my coworker was like, dude, this is great. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect code. Like there's no n+1s here. There's no looping. There's no Ruby. We're not allocating and storing all this stuff. So I was like, sometimes it gives me great stuff and sometimes it doesn't. And I found a lot more use out of it in like, I write the thing, you come in and like review or clean up or optimize behind me.
Yeah. I like that approach a lot, especially because you are learning from it. Like you're learning about that hidden, like I learned about .not.where the other day.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? I've been writing inverse queries for years. I can do a .not. So little things like that where it's like, it doesn't affect the output of it, but oh man, it is so much nicer to read now. And I never would have discovered that unless I was actively searching for it. And I know now to always use that. And learning those little things in Ruby and in Rails is so rewarding. And it feels like you're pairing with like a tireless junior programmer, but sometimes that junior knows something that you don't. And that is where it's like the most fulfilling. Where you're like, oh, cool. That's like new little Ruby tip to pick up.
You know about where.missing, right? I was going to say that's the next evolution from where.not.
No, what's where.missing?
So if I do like author.where.missing posts, it would return all authors that don't have any posts.
Oh.
Yes.
So like an inverse join almost.
Yes, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I use that a lot.
I got to check that out.
Yeah.
See?
Yep.
Never would have learned that.
Is there anything else you want to talk about as we kind of start to wrap up?
That's good. Yeah, I'm excited about Hotwire Native still. I'm excited about AI, but I'm not pilled. I think that's where I am. Yeah, it's good to chat again, always.
Are you speaking at any conferences this year?
That is a good question. I just saw that the RubyConf CFP just opened up.
Yep.
Yes,
I would love to check that out. It's Vegas, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, not too far from me. Much easier than the Amsterdam trips I've been out to Ruby Rails
tell me
World.
about it.
I'm going to try to speak at one conference this year. I think I spoke at 3 last year. It was a lot.
Yeah,
it was
a little too much.
And it was like 3 different talks. So I don't want to do that many this year, but I don't know. The Portland Ruby scene hasn't been super active recently. So the conferences are really the only time I like it to do this kind of stuff in person still. So I want to try to at least go to one conference. And the hard part about being a solo is I got to pay for my own conference stuff. So if I'm going to a conference, I'm speaking at a conference. So hopefully I'll throw a CFP in for RubyConf soon because I think that's the one this year for me.
Very cool.
I'm on the program committee. It's all anonymized, so I won't really probably know that it's your talk, but like
you'll know.
We've already it'll be Hotwire Native, right?
Yeah, you'll know.
But we did celebrate briefly a couple days ago because we've already gotten one submission into the CFP. So
that's awesome.
It's starting.
Yeah, well, if you need a keynote speaker, I know someone who's done one at Rails World and would love to do a keynote at RubyConf.
Well, keep that in mind. I don't think we're having conversations about the keynotes quite yet. That might also be something that the co-chairs handle without involving the program committee. You never quite know how they're running it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, hopefully I will see you both there. If not, we'll chat more next time.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I mean, we'll have links to the Bridge Components purchase kit, your podcast, all in the show notes for people if they want to go check those out. Is there anything else you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Yeah, everything I have now is Masilotti.com. And there's a Hotwire Native tab up in the top that has a list to like all this stuff all in one spot. So if you want one link to go to Masilotti.com, click on Hotwire Native, and there's a link to my book, my newsletter, the Bridge Component Library, purchase kit, et cetera, et cetera. That's the best spot.
Cool. We'll get that in the show notes as well. Joe, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Always nice to chat.
Yep. We'll see you all next week. Bye.